Hey people, right now, at this very moment, I don't feel like I'm lacking in anything. We all have plans for the future. I have plans for the future. But we actually don't know what's in the future. I remember some people saying some stuff about this in the past, but as in But even when I was... See, now it's like I have my relationship with God. I have a strong relationship with God, just like I always have. But it's like the Bible had answered all these questions I had. Then there was a bunch more questions I had. They, like heaps, and they all got answered. And then there was a bunch more questions, they got answered. And then there was more questions and they didn't get answered. And there was more questions and they would get answered. They didn't get answered. And I thought that there was the answers that I had found for myself. I thought that God didn't put them into the Bible because they made logical sense. But as I got to my 30s, I found different texts and different religions, more specifically Norse mythology and Hinduism, had actually had my explanations in there, and I didn't even know it from the beginning. I didn't even know it. I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. When I'm at the gym, when I'm chilling out in the darkness, when I'm shooting hoops at the park, going for a walk, and when I'm sitting down watching professional wrestling, or on the odd occasion MMA, because I find professional wrestling more entertaining because it's the regular appearance of those characters, and then there's all the storytelling and all that type of stuff. MMA is obviously more real, but the thing is you won't see them for another 3 more months. You don't see them 3 times every 2 weeks, or once a week, or twice a week, or whatever. Oh, they have there's talk things, there's interviews, and there's when they talk smack, and their competitive side comes out, and it's like, that's not a show. That's not a show when they say, no, I'll knock you out. No, I'll knock you out. What? No, I'll knock... They're not putting on a show or a dance for anyone. That's 2 athletes that are in the prime of their career and fighting for world titles. Do you think that... they would have lost in the past, probably. Maybe whether they got abused from their parents, or whether they picked it up because they were getting bullied at school physically and they picked it up, or whether they, for whatever reason, they picked it up when they were growing up and they weren't being bullied, but they lost some fights at the dojo and stuff. They all would have lost, but they won enough in order to be in the picture, to be fighting for world championships. Of course they're going to be thinking that way. Then none of those competitors are accustomed to losing, so losing doesn't come into their brain. It might slightly come into their brain because they understand that the other person is so elite to the point where they're fighting for world titles and fighting to climb the ranking to the world title. They might be a national champion. They realize that, but every single one of those fighters, they're not accustomed to losing. How did I get there? Yeah, anyways, I just feel like I'm not lacking anything. But I do want to make a ton more money. And, I'm currently unemployed. I have been unemployed for, when it gets to the 28th of April, which is just under a couple of weeks' time, it'll be 3 months, and I've been applying for jobs every single day, vacancies every single day, and average about I was going to say 5, but then most days I'm doing 5, but every here and there it's 2 or 3 or maybe even 7, but most days it's 5, because yeah. But this is also another sign that your breakthrough's coming near. It's like you have gone through the turmoil, but the thing is, the turmoil was nowhere near in comparison to where it used to be when I was in my early 20s when this happened. It's like it's not like, oh, I'm being positive, but I'm holding back my true authentic feelings of feeling that I'm being punished by God, or that I'm missing out, or there's things that are missing in my life, and I'm holding that back and doing my very best to put the positive vibes out there and saying, oh no, no, I literally feel that way. When I'm watching the professional wrestling, when I'm watching the MMA, when I'm going for walks, when I'm shooting hoops at the park, when I'm working out at the gym, getting my groceries, when I'm doing all these things, and when I'm just standing here in the darkness. There's some Christians in the past, they used to, I don't know, because I have a thinking that, because I found that most people neurotypicals don't say what they mean, so I'd be like standing out in a place like this, and every here and there when I told people about, because I used to talk about it at church, last night I drove up to certain peak, or last place I went somewhere else, and I was out by the countryside and it was pitch black like this. Except for this is not the countryside, this is like, I decided to go for a cruise because I started off doing a job helping my mate, and we're going to finish that off today, but I had to get something from Repco to tighten up the car battery. It had been tightened up already, but I wanted my own spanner, so I didn't have to use other people's spanners. So I got my own spanner, the adjustable one. And then when I looked out, I was like, oh, it's black. It's like dark. It was like 7 o'clock, and I was like, damn. Because, another thing with autism is we adapt fast it's just me, because ADHD are fast thinkers, all that type of stuff, but autistic people, we're very routine based, and I'm a mixture between the two, so it's just me. Like, there's certain things like I could think on the fly. Like, someone messaged me right now, do you want to go do something? Just go catch up for coffee or whatever. It's 8 p.m. I'll just be like, yep, boom, let's go. I feel like I want to go shoot hoops during the day. Get dressed, go. All this type of thing. But then there's things like this, like it's coming into winter, and usually it's 7 o'clock in the summer. It's not dark until 9 or 9:30. So that changed last week, and I'm just like, yeah, I've adapted now. I wanted to finish the job, which is pulling apart this heat pump, and I got all the copper out, but then it's like I'm trying to get all this other stuff that's all been pulled apart, but, we have to, there's this covering over another bit of copper, the heating bit of copper, and I got to get that off, but it was like pitch black. After I got my spanner, I was like, oh, that's right, you're getting into winter. This is a piece of this is a part of the breakthrough process. You're not hiding your true feelings. Like before in the past, people might say I was negative or whatever, but once you get past your true authentic feelings once you process your true authentic feelings that are negative, it's not like you're putting on a face and smiling to the world and trying to be positive and put positive vibes out there whilst neglecting your own true authentic feelings. You get to the point where you don't have those feelings because you've processed through those feelings, you don't have them anymore. And you get to a point where you don't feel them when you get in those situations, and then you put the positive vibes out authentically rather than trying to make yourself positive by denying your own feelings. This is another part of the process of the breakthrough. I want big money so I can raise a family live my life. I feel at one.